left in Europe, across Europe, I would say. Why always say, Britain, but also Britain. Ramsay MacDonald, these were all big figures. They were in the Comintern, they were, communists, internationalists, whatever. But when it came to war, they always lined up against their state. And it's important. And Clement, Attlee, you mentioned, you should read some of his speeches to Parliament. It's all recorded. And he says very clearly that we have to let India go, because he says we cannot hold it anymore. We don't have the means to hold it. And he says, because of the war, these are all parliamentary records, and you can go back on that, and he says that there was also war financing, because we shouldn't forget that a lot of the money financing for the war, the soldiers for the war, came from South Asia. South Asia has always been, I say South Asia because there was also India, there was also Pakistan. And so in those days it was just India included all these regions. And so the war financing came, and as a result of that, the Indian government the British government owed money to the Indian government to the extent of some, 10 million more pounds, whatever. So the balance sheet of India was in credit because they had sold so much material to the British war efforts. And Clement Attlee says very clearly in Parliament, if we let India go, we can get that money, and that could then finance NHS and all of that which we will need for post-war reconstruction. And he mentions NHS very clearly. That these are all the post-war efforts that we will need to build, and that 10 million or whatever million that was, don't quote me on the figures, but I think from memory it was that in those days. And he says that money will come to us, so let's negotiate, we can get something. And Britain was in a desperate financial situation at the time. So that was one of the things. But if you want me to throw in another bit of the, what did the Democrats do across the Atlantic?
Sorry, I should make clear I'm not a fan of the Labour Party, or even the so-called socialist Labour, whatever it calls itself.
It's not about you being but that was the thinking of that. And I think it is important because this is how, the vocabulary of internationalism is very much there. And that is why, whether you are a supporter or not, it is still a reality, a historical reality that we need to contend with. So Attlee was brought in and he consolidated the post-war, what is called the imperial trading systems, that circle, the pound remained in South Asia, including Sri Lanka and that whole region. So there were, and of course the Middle East was a very, very crucial role in which the Labour Party played a very, very big role. So if you include that, and if you include the fact that it was the Indian Army that was fighting Britain's war around the world, and including the Middle East, that is something that is, it was a situation that is very interesting. I don't want to go too much into that. I'm leaving.
Just let me add something also. There was a commission in 1944, an inquiry, Bengal Famine Inquiry Commission. But there was one who made also a very good report about the famine and the responsibility of what happened and the responsibility of the cabinet, etc. But his report was completely taken out of the final draft. It didn't come to the final draft of this report, the inquiry, the Bengal Famine Inquiry in 1944. And that's also very important to say this. I don't remember exactly the name of this man, but is in the report also that there was this famine inquiry report.
Thank you.